Hi, welcome back. So this weekend, I'm working on this 37 cab. This isn't my truck. I'm doing the chop on this in trade for parts for the Gasser wagon. So I don't normally bounce off of a project and do, unless it's like something's broke down on one of my cars and I got to get back on the road. So this should be a quick, weekend project. I'm sure I'll turn it into a bigger project, but it's not my truck, so I'm going to try and work my way through this. We're taking 4 inches out, so I've got to take 4 inches out of the front, 4 inches out of the doors, and when you chop this, your windshield, this pillar, it's going to move forward, so you have to add a section to the top of the cab. And before we reattach this, I've got to go through and straighten out the metal in the roof because it's very wavy. It'd be hard to seam it together. So, show you. So this thing isn't spinning very good. So in the back here, I want to keep the full-size window. I don't like them shrunk. Even though it's not my cab, I'm still going to do it the way I would. So I'm going to cut 4 inches out around the back here. And then right here, I'll drop down and I'll take 4 inches across the bottom. And I'll kind of show you. I chopped Gold Rush. That was the first chop that I did. And this one I'm going to do a little bit differently. I've had plenty of time to think about it, and I'll kind of give you an idea of what I'm thinking. So I'm going to take this piece of sheet metal, and I'm going to make it 4 inches wide, because that's how much I want to remove. And this isn't long enough, which is a little frustrating, but I'll take some self-tap screws and I'll self-tap this, and I'll have my 4-inch piece. So I'll just cut right along the metal on both sides around the whole section of the back cab where I want to cut it. But I want everything to be straight, so when I drop it down, everything will line up nice and smooth, and there won't be a ton of gaps. On Gold Rush, I filled so many holes and got it too hot and it warped, and I just want to try and do this better. One, it's not mine, and two, I want to get better. Every time I do something, I want it to be better than I did before. So, and then for the pillars, when I cut these pillars, I want this to drop down and I want it to be even on both sides. On Gold Rush, I cut it and I used the grinder. It didn't turn out that great. I had to smooth it all out and try and get it to hook up with each other. So I'm going to make a bracket that's going to mount on here. I'm going to take 2 pieces that are going to be 4 inches wide, and I'm going to bolt them together so I can cut on each side of this and keep my grinder nice and flat with this and use it as a template. And then I'll drop it down and it should set perfect. So let's make the template and see if this will work. I didn't do this on Gold Rush. This is a different pillar anyway. On Gold Rush, it's a little more rounded, and this is very square. It should be a lot easier to do. So we'll have to either narrow it down here by putting some relief cuts and bring the metal in to match this because this pillar is a little bit narrower here and it's fat here, but we'll cross that road when we get there. So I'm going to start overthinking this bracket. So I got this shaved down where I like it. It's nice and square. Got that marked. See, I can see where I just need to shave a little bit off with the belt sander. So I'll take it over there and I'll do that. So now I've got my two pieces cut. They're both square and same height. But my plan is to put these around the pillar and use this as a guide and run my grinder across the top of this all the way around. Same thing on the bottom. And then I can take this plate off and I can use it on the other side. But before I cut the pillars, I got to get the doors off, which I already took one door off. And then I need to put a brace bar across the door because we're going to cut that thing and I don't want it to fold in. So I'm going to dig around and see what I can find for scrap to use. So these are going to be our two pieces that'll go in the door jamb to give this structure when we cut the roof off. That's where we're going to tack it. This pocket doesn't make any sense. You can't do nothing with it. Let's get back to work. Neighbor's revving his car up. Come here. That'll hold. I like it. I guess I'll give you the rundown on this truck. This truck has been a project moving around this town in the valley in Southern Oregon for over 20 years. And the friend of mine, it was his brother's project. Wait, hold on, let me back up. It was one guy's truck in the car club, and then it ended up to the buddy that owns it now's brother. And the brother built him a chassis. He's who built the chassis for Gold Rush. That's what he does, Dive Bombers Garage. And the brother ended up selling the cab and the chassis to a friend. The friend had it for many years, and for a decade, maybe even longer, no one knew where it was. And it popped up on Marketplace, and it was the cab and the chassis just the same way that it was sold, 10 plus years ago, and we went and bought it back. So it's kind of made its rounds in the valley here, and now it's going to get put together. The plan is to chop it, put it on its chassis, set it up with a motor, rear end, and just make it a roller. That way it's going to end up being for sale, is what I'm getting at. And it'll end up being a roller for somebody to finish. That's what the plan is with this truck. Pretty cool though that no one's ever dove in any further to get it to the next phase, and we're going to make sure we do that. So, original owner of this in the car club, I actually talked to him months ago, and I asked him, what was his vision on this cab and the chop, and we talked about it. And 4 inches what he was going to do originally, and so that's what we're doing. Anyway, let's get back to work. So I'd like to draw this thing out on the cab where it's going to get cut, so I can eyeball it before it's cut in pieces. So I'd like to have a little bit of a plan. So these are going to go like this. And they don't have to touch each other. When I cut, I'm going to rest my grinding disc on this channel so I can do a nice straight line all the way around. And I'll make sure I have a fresh 6-inch disc. When I cut this previously on Gold Rush, I didn't do this. I just marked it out, and your grinder, you can't really tell whether you're cutting it flat or what, and it didn't turn out that great. Could have been a lot better. It ended up being fine. I finished it, but we're going to do a little bit nicer job on this one. So I think what I'll do is I'll drill some holes in this, and I'll just use some self-tapping metal screws, and I'll screw it to the pillar here, and then I'll do the same thing back here. And then I can always just cut here, pull this off, and move it to a better place like here. Use a clamp or whatever, what have you. But I'm going to mark it out. That looks good. This doesn't have to be the same on each side. As long as you take the same amount out, it'll line up just fine. Still need to take this and shave it down to 4 inches. Probably just use the plasma. Stink bugs. I don't like them. I'm just going to mark the top. Well, that looks pretty level. Last time I did this, I used a laser level. I made sure the cab was pretty level, but I way overthought it. I might be overthinking this too, but so this isn't cut at 4 inches yet, but this is what I'm going to cut out on the cab. So I'll line this up here, and I'll wrap this around the cab, and I'll use this same template on each side. I want my line to be really straight. I'm going to use the plasma cutter. So I've got this angle iron that I'm going to use as a guide to just run across this metal. See, it'll just rest right on this edge, and I can run it all the way down. Let's double check. Yeah. Like it. I didn't see that before. So we have our line to go off of. Maybe these aren't bullet holes. Maybe it was like a gun rack or something. But they're gonna get removed. We can remove this. 2 inches, 2 inches. Now this is where this will start. See? This cab, you know, this was made so many years ago, you can't really get too precise, but I can just do as good as I can. Okay. Sure. Oh no, I need metal screws. Shoot. I wonder how many I have. I'm gonna have to get more metal screws tomorrow. Or tonight. Probably get up at 3:30 tomorrow morning, like I did this morning. Oh, let's cut this thing. I'm gonna put a fresh disc on. Well, why is that not coming off? What's the deal with that? 3-year warranty. So I'll cut across here, like midway, and stop on both sides, and then I'll move this template over, and then I'll finish coming across. But the reason I use a fresh disc is once I get this through the metal, I'll be able to watch my front and my rear on this template on the disc to make sure that it's flat all the way across. Okay? Let's do this. So I didn't cut my corners. If I cut my corners, it would maybe pull this out of shape a little bit. I'll do my corners after I'm ready to undo everything. So I'll get most of the cutting done, and then I'll leave my corners because this still has some structure. Well, this wraps up today. I've got to go get tacos and my hot rod with the car club. So tomorrow I'll get some more metal screws, and hopefully I don't have to buy gas for the welder. But probably won't be doing much welding tomorrow anyway. We'll be doing a lot of test fitting and cutting. So thanks for watching.